Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lord Meher book reading. Thank you for everyone who's joined in on Zoom and everyone who will be watching the recording. We welcome you too. We had left on page number 2306 last week, so we'll continue from there. Sarosh came to see Baba at Lonavala on the morning of 19th November and returned to Ahmednagar the same day. For the past few days, Baba had been discussing the idea with the Mandli of holding a mass gathering at Mehrabad in February 1943. But on 21st November, Baba brought up a new idea. Instead of holding one gathering at Mehrabad, he suggested smaller congregations to be held at seven different places simultaneously. Baba chose Bombay, Pune, Nagpur, Hyderabad, Allahabad, Lahore, and Sholapur as central points for spreading his message. To make preparations for these gatherings, Baba decided to hold a meeting of his intimate followers on 27 December at Mehrabad. His lovers were then invited to attend the meeting. A message titled, "We must live for God and die for God," was also dictated, printed, and circulated on 1st December 1942. Footnote, please. 10,000 leaflets were printed. Thank you. This war is a necessary evil. It is in God's plan, which is to awaken humanity to higher values. If humanity fails to profit by the lessons of war, it will have suffered in vain. This war is teaching that even the man in the street can rise to the greatest heights of sacrifice for the sake of a selfless cause. It is also teaching that all the mundane things of the world, wealth, possessions, power, fame, family, and even the very tenor of life on earth are transitory and devoid of lasting value. The incidents of war shall, through the lessons which they bring, win over man for God, who is the truth, and they will initiate him into a new life, which is inspired by true and lasting values. People are making unlimited sacrifices and enduring untold sufferings for the sake of their country or political ideology. They are therefore capable of the same sacrifices and endurance for the sake of God or the truth. All religions have unequivocally, sorry, inequivocally,
Ec-
inequivocally. How do you pronounce it, Eva? Just say it. I'm a little struggling here. Unequivocally,
Unequivocally.
unequivocally, whatever. Claimed man for the life in truth. It is sheer folly to fight in the name of religions. It is time that man had a fresh vision of truth that all life is one and that God is the only thing which is real and the only thing that matters. God is worth living for and he is also worth dying for. All else is a vain and empty pursuit of illusory values. On 4th December 1942, Baba left Lonavala for must work in Raipur. He returned after a week on 10th. He returned after a week on the 10th. Yeah. Mera, Mani, Gai Mai all had the experience of being bothered by a ghost at Prophet Lodge in Lonavala. Where Mera was sleeping, her arm was pulled. Mani's entire body was shaken. Baba assured them, "Don't worry about it. I will take care of it." Therefore, the ghost did not disturb anyone. Baba had freed the spirit so it could take another birth. They later found out some years before a laundryman had committed suicide in the well of the compound. Because of this, his spirit was hovering over the space. Baba's mercy put an end to his miserable state and he was freed. Baba explained to the women, "Don't be afraid of ghosts, they do not do any harm. The atmosphere is full of impressions. Sometimes, when you think you feel the presence of a spirit, it's not the actual spirit, but the impressions in the place that you feel. That is why I told you all not to go near the well where the Dhobi committed suicide. All those impressions of his are lingering there. But I have now freed the spirit, so it is all right now." Yeah. Adi Sr. brought his nieces Meheru, Nagu, and Themi to Lonavala on 13 December to spend their Christmas holidays with Baba. Baba permitted Meheru to remain with him from then on, and she became a permanent member of the women mentally. The goal of her young life had been,
Sorry.
it's okay, fulfilled. Yeah, footnote. Meru's mother, Freni, had moved back to Nasik on December 1942, where she remained with her mother, Daulamai. Yeah. Since his childhood, Savak Damania of Akbar Press 30 had been in Baba's contact and engaged to marry Irach's sister Mehru. Savak had a friend named Homi Pavri who wanted to meet Meher Baba. Savak wrote to Baba at Lonavala and Baba permitted them to come. They arrived in Lonavala, but Baba sent Vishnu to stop Homi near the gate and allow only Savak to come inside. Homi had bought garlands and sweets for Baba, and Baba told him through Vishnu that he should see him from a distance and then leave. Homi accepted this, saw Baba from the distance, handed Vishnu the garlands and sweets, and started to leave. Savak turned to Baba and asked, "May I see him off at the train station?" "Is he your child?" Baba snapped. "Can he not go alone? You have come to see me and are to stay here for 4 days at a time when I'm not seeing anyone. But if you want to go, go." Next page, please. Yeah. Marvin, would you like to read from here? Thank you.
Sure. "I want to stay," said Savak. "But what my friend," let me just switch this. But what will my friend think of me?" "That means you think first of your friend and not of me. If you go to the station where I want you to be there, when I want you to be there, what will I think of you?" "Forgive me, Baba, you are right." Baba then told him, "Just remember one thing. Think only of my will and don't think of pleasing others. If you keep my will, and if in doing so, the whole world turns against you, you should learn to ignore it. The whole world is within me. Everything will be all right if you only think of my wish. Whatever your friend had to earn, he has earned it by seeing me briefly. There is nothing for him to think now." The formal engagement ceremony between Nariman and Arnabaz Dadachanji was held before Baba in Prospect Lodge on Monday, 21 December 1942. Both families were present, and Baba himself put a gold ring on Nariman's finger and one on Arnabaz's, uniting them in his love. They garlanded Baba together. After 1939, Baba had stopped staying at Arnabaz's parents, Naroji and Bakamai's Dadachanji's house in Bombay, although he would pass through Bombay occasionally. In the past, when he was staying with Dadachanji's, he would always sleep in a particular room, and he had told Naroji to keep it for him. From then on, Bakamai kept an oil lamp burning there throughout the day and night. When in Lonavala, Bakamai asked Baba, "When will you come to Bombay again?" Baba replied, when Arnavaz and Naraman have their house there, I will come and stay with them. Later, it will be seen how this came to pass. The Dadachanjis left Lanavla, except for Arnavaz, who stayed on with the women Mandali. Baba returned to Meherabad with all the men and women Mandali on 22 December 1942, and arrangements began for the meeting on the 27th. Hindu and Padre were put in charge of the preparations, and instructions were sent to those men invited. On his return, Baba absorbed himself in his must work. Mohammed Must and Udarman Mastan were staying in Meherabad. They had been shifted from the family quarters to the Must ashram on the hill 5 days prior to Baba's arrival. In addition to these two, Kaka and Baidul would bring musts from other areas, whom Baba would bathe, feed, and sit with for his work. Once Baba wanted chapatis for the musts and went to Gaimai in the kitchen. Fresh chapatis had not yet been made that day, but Nurgiz brought some from the previous day and presented them to Baba. Baba looked at them and criticized her. You are not preparing chapatis with all your heart. If my musts eat these, they will get a stomachache. As soon as Baba arrived in Meherabad, he divided the women into 5 different small groups. Each group was assigned a separate room on Meherabad Hill. The women of one group were forbidden to speak with the women of the other group, and if anyone had to convey something to a woman of a different group, she had to do so through Kitty, who would pass along the message. Mera, Mani, and Meru consisted of one group, Naja, Khorshid, and Walu another, Kitty, Ranu, and Margaret the third, Mansari, Katie, Sultun, and Dowla the fourth, Guy May, Manu, Meru, Jesawala, Sunamasi, Nurgiz, and Kaikobai the fifth. Irene was still not well and therefore was kept segregated. Baba had taken up residence in his Jopti in Lower Meherabad, but he would walk up the hill daily to work with the musts and to meet Mera and Mani. Because he was still in partial seclusion, when Baba was walking up the hill, a bell would be rung and all the women would go inside their rooms. After meeting only Mera and Mani, Baba descended the hill. The bell was rung a second time and the other woman could then come outside. Once the bell rang when Baba was coming up the hill, and Mansari, who was missing Baba terribly, came out to see him. Baba was annoyed and asked her, why did you come out? Mansari pleaded, I too have a heart, Baba. How can you expect me to bear not seeing you? Let your heart go to hell, he said. It is no heart if it does not follow my wish. Why do you call it a heart? Baba continued scolding. What have you gained by seeing me? You cannot see me. When you don't obey me, what is the use of seeing me? You will never be able to see me that way. If you want to see me, follow my behests. Do you hope to see me by incurring my wrath? That seeing is not seeing. Try to please me, and one day you will really see me. Baba then ordered all the women, except for Mera and Mani, to closet themselves in one room together when the bell announcing his arrival was sounded, and not to come out until the second bell was rung. Despite being in seclusion, Baba took the Meherabad women to Sarosh Cinema to see a film on 24 December 1942. A significant event occurred 3 days later. When Japan had entered the war a year before, in 1941, Baba, during one of his discussions with the Mandali, asked their opinions of what would happen if Ahmednagar were overrun by the Japanese. There was a heated argument, and Sarosh emphatically maintained, Baba, why should you worry about Ahmednagar? Japan is not going to invade or bomb us. Baba looked at him sharply, warning, a bomb will be thrown in Ahmednagar, and it will land in your compound. Sarosh and every other man took the remark lightly and quickly forgot about it. But on 27 December 1942, when the Sarosh Cinema was full of British soldiers, during the intermission, someone from the Quit India independence movement threw a grenade inside the theater compound. Sarosh was closest to the blast, but miraculously escaped injury. One boy working at the cinema was killed, and several others injured. Sarosh then remembered what Baba had predicted. Footnote. The culprits were later apprehended. They were young college students who had stolen the grenade. A Baba lover from the Damania family knew one of the boys and begged Baba to help them. Otherwise, they were sure to hang. Baba instructed that the boys wear his locket and say Meher Baba Ki Jai whenever they entered the courtroom. The result was that they were eventually released for lack of evidence. Interesting. On 26 December 1942, the out-of-town lovers began arriving at Meherabad for the meeting. From Kashmir came Daulat Singh, from Nagpur Deshmukh and Pankraj, from Nasik Ramju, from Sholapur Gadekar, and from Bombay, Pune, and Ahmednagar many other close disciples. 99 men in all attended the program. To make it an even 100, Baba instructed Margaret to be present, explaining to her, "You have to do my work in the West, and for that you must have some idea of it." Minu Karatz of Karachi had brought a close relative, Naz Dubash, to whom Baba gave a ring, telling her never to remove it. It was a special gift, as that day was Naz's birthday. On the 27th, Baba held private interviews from 8 to 9 a.m. in the Rahuri cabin. Many were meeting Baba for the first time, although they had been waiting for his darshan for years. In 1939, Vipudi had opened the Baba Center in the village of Anjawada, about a mile from the town of Soanar, on a piece of land given by Motiram Kohake Patil. There were thousands of Baba lovers in the area, and one particularly staunch follower was a pleader, a lawyer from Sayonar named Dinkar Parbaji Palpali. His entire family was devoted to Baba. He had been doing much Baba work in the area, although he had never met Baba in person.
Thank you, Marvin. Rosalie, can you take it from here? Thank you.
Point out where they're at, because that was on my book.
Right at the top, Baba called.
Yeah. Okay, Baba called Papali to him. Adi Senior, Deshmukh, Vibhuti, Ramju, Ghani, and Vishnu were present. Baba was seated on a carpet on the floor of the Rahuri cabin. Those invited had been told that to bow down to Baba, to touch his feet, or to fold hands in obeisance was forbidden. Papali came and stood before his master, and Baba complimented him. "I am pleased with you and the work you're being done by the Saoner Center." After asking about his family, profession, and so on, Baba asked, "What do you want? What do you expect from me?" Papali sincerely replied, "I expect nothing material from you. I have enough. I have come for your help in self-realization. That is all." "But to what extent are you prepared to pay his price? To pay its price?" He responded, "I am ready for any sacrifice you may order." The kind of sacrifice you are talking about is very difficult for a man who is the sole support of his family, as you are. If I ordered you to leave your family to its fate, or to fast for an indefinite period, live in seclusion, become a sannyasi, jump in a well or in a fire, or give you any other orders of whatever type, are you prepared to obey them? Baba, I will gladly obey your orders, whatever they may be. But I want to, can you lower that a little? I have something blocking. But I want to journey on the path with full consciousness as a salik, not as a must. Baba was pleased and assured him, I am very happy with you. Don't worry about anything. Attend the meeting and return home and work as usual. My orders will come at the proper time. I will help you in your spiritual progress and give you what you want. Another new follower was Pritam Singh Sadhni. He was a successful businessman running a thriving trade in Thailand. Once on Buddha's birthday, the local Buddhist people paid him much respect and greatly honored him. Pritam Singh questioned them. Why are you felicitating me on this day? And they replied, you come from the land where our Lord Buddha was born. This answer moved him deeply and lifted a veil from his mind. He thought, what a pity that I know nothing about Buddha, although I come from India. And here these people are worshiping him so devoutly. My whole mind is obsessed with making money, and yet these people revere me as someone spiritual. Leaving his business, Pritam Singh returned to India and began longing for the darshan of the living Buddha. He visited several sadhus and saints, but was never satisfied. He had heard of Meher Baba in 1936 and read a few of his books, but darshan being unavailable, he had to wait 6 years before he could meet the one his heart had recognized. On the 27th of December, his wish was fulfilled. Pritam vividly recalled that first meeting. I followed Adi Senior in a state of immense joy, my heart full of Baba's love, my eyes full of joyous tears, running toward the Lord of my heart, who had made me his long before. One step in the hut, I was face to face with my beloved Baba, who was reclining. I saw his brilliant face shining as a full moon, more beautiful than any face I had ever seen before. His two beautiful eyes, as wide and deep as an ocean, pierced my heart and kissed my soul. His grateful smile confirmed forever that I belonged to him and him alone. I was lost in him for a while, and then Adi took my hand and bade me sit beside him. Baba looked at me, and the happiness of my millions of lives cannot equal the bliss of that one moment with Baba. Baba held my hand, drew me to his heart, gave me a warm embrace, and made me aware that I was in the lap of the God Mother, drinking deep from the well of his love. Baba asked, What do you wish for? Before Pritam Singh could speak and reply, Baba dictated on the board. I know what you want. For you, words are unnecessary. And then Baba embraced him once again.
Thank you, Rosalie. Jan, can you read from here? Thanks.
A large tent filled with chairs for the men had been erected near the railway tracks. At one end of the tent was a platform on which Baba's Gadi had been placed. The platform had green carpeting on it, and the Gadi was covered that day in yellow silk. The general meeting convened at 9 o'clock on the morning of the 27th of December, 1942. Baba's opening remarks were read out to the men in 4 languages: by R.D. Senior in English, Chanji in Gujarati, Ghani in Urdu, and Vishnu in Marathi. I have my own reasons for the work that is going to be done by me in the very near future. I know the nature of the work and the seriousness of the instructions. Out of nearly 500 to 600 followers, I have called only you few.
We're sorry, we cannot take your call at this time.
As I do not want any compromise between truth and falsehood, between God and worldly things, you must hear the message very carefully and then say if you are prepared. I won't be displeased if you say no, but if you say yes and then do not do it, it will then be a question of naraji, deep displeasure with me. In this meeting, no female has been admitted except Margaret Krask, who represents the ladies' group. In God Absolute, there is no secrecy. It is infinitely simple. But when absolute God is to be brought on the working plane of duality, some sort of secrecy is to be adopted. So this secrecy is only for the good of others. I want every one of you, as my first order for the special work for others, to keep that which I will now tell you to yourselves. Personally, I have no Vando objection, but for practical purposes, difficulties might arise. We are going to work for the spiritual benefit of the world. The responsibility is mine. You have to do as I say. Now, we won't meet in this fashion again, maybe not in any fashion. Many of you probably will not see me again. From January, very few will see me. The world will see and know me only when I speak, which is very, very near. R.D. Jr. then read out a prepared message: Work for the spiritual freedom of humanity, a call to my intimate disciples. In it, Baba began by enumerating different types of freedom and pointed out that only spiritual freedom is absolute and unlimited. He went on to state, there is no gift greater than the gift of spiritual freedom, and there is no task more important than the task of helping others to achieve spiritual freedom. But he added, spiritual freedom has to be won by oneself for oneself through watchful and unfailing war against the lower self and the lower desires. Those who would be the soldiers in the cause of truth have to help all, not only in launching upon the thrilling enterprise of attaining victory over oneself, but also in every step which they take toward that attainment. There is no other way of sharing their burden. The message ended as follows. Today, I am meeting you with full confidence that you will share this burden. Many of you have obeyed my orders and carried out my instructions for years through faith in me and love for me. Can you move it up? Thank you. You have stuck to me and my spiritual cause through storm and stress and thick and thin. Now the time has come for you to offer all your services in my mission of helping humanity to tread the spiritual path for realizing God. The eternal truth that God alone is real has to be clearly understood and unreservedly accepted, and it has to be unequivocally expressed through words and deeds. In the full realization of the truth, man shall attain spiritual freedom. No sacrifice is too big for setting man free from spiritual bondage and helping him to inherit the truth, which alone shall bring abiding peace to all, and which alone will unfailingly sustain an unassailable sense of universal fellowship, cemented by the ungrudging love of all, for all, as expressions of the same reality. In this God-will, divinely planned and predestined task of bringing spiritual freedom to humanity, you, my intimate followers, have to help me, even at the cost of your life. In your duty of helping others to find God, you have to welcome every type of suffering and sacrifice. In the individual groups, each one of you will receive from me detailed spiritual instructions with regard to your own specific duty. I have full confidence that you will have no hesitation in carrying out my spiritual instructions at any cost and under any circumstances. And in respect of your willingness to carry out my instructions, I want each of you to say yes or no now, before I talk to you in separate individual groups. Baba then divided the 99 men into two groups, A and B. He had the 72 names of the A group read out and told them to remain seated. 4 others who were included in, Group A consisted of the following men: Abdullah Jaffer, RD Senior, RD Junior, Ali Akbar, Alaba, Anna Saheb Kale, Baba Das, Babu Campbell, arrived on 31st of December, Badal, Bayram Gandhi, Bayram S. Irani, Burjor Mehta, Kawasji, Vagewala, Chanji Chagan, Kuva A. Jewala, Dolat Singh, Deshmukh, Dake, Don, Edke, arrived on the 31st of December, Erij Jesawala, Erij Patel, Feram Working Boxwala, Gadika, Ghani, Gustaji, Homi Batina, Jal Kerawala, Jabhe, Jamshed A. Irani, arrived on the 28th of December, Jamshed Desai, Kaikabad, Kakabaria, Kalamama, Kat Saheb, Krishna, Kupaswani, Manikar, Manek Mehta, Manek Ranji, Maneksha B. Cooper, Masaji, Meherji Mehta, Minu Baruka, Minu Karas, Nusawan Karas, Minu's father, Nada A. Bahiwala, Naroji Dadachanji, Nariman, Nilu, Noshia Kapadia, Padri, Pandoba, Papa Jesawala, Pendu, Pilu Mama Sata, Pafali Plida, Pritam Singh, Rao Saheb, Ramju, Rusi Jahangir, Rusi's Pop, Sadashiv Patil, Sailor, Sarosh, Savak, Syed Saheb, Sidhu, Slamsong Hansotia, G.S. Srivastava, Bankoba Rao, Vibhuti and Vishnu. 4 others who were included in Group A but who did not attend were Savak Damania, Homi Hansotia, Sampath Ayanga, and Mudalia Vadivilu. The others in the B group were asked to leave the tent for the time being. But before you will disperse, Baba stated, I want you to remember three important things. First, I do not want any monetary help from any of you. Secondly, you need not worry, be anxious, or lose your peace of mind over what I might ask you to do. I know what each one of you can do, and so will instruct accordingly. But if this is the third point, and this is the third point, I will use to the utmost the capabilities of each of you. To Group A, Baba had the following instructions read. I am very happy you all have willingly agreed and promised to implicitly obey my instructions to work in my work of establishing spiritual freedom in the world. The instructions that I will give you are based on 5 specific foundations, each different in its aspect of execution and result, although the main effect of these different results will fundamentally be one and the same. So in short, I am classifying them in 5 separate functions and calling them 5 instructions. I will issue to each of you one of these 5 instructions. None of you will have more than one of the 5 instructions. I will decide which of these is to be given to whom. These 5 instructions might bring in its wake to you personally the following 5 conditions. 1, dying. 2, prison. 3, sannyas, renunciation. 4, infinite physical hardship, which might perhaps give lifelong physical defects. 5, ridicule, beating, scandals, starvation, and begging. All of these 5 instructions will be concerned with the establishing of my work of spiritual freedom, as mentioned in my introductory message of today. Each of these 5 instructions will have an explicit, separate, independent basis for its execution with a fixed, definite, separate result, although in some cases results may unintentionally coincide. Therefore, the dying, the going to prison, renunciation, and physical and mental hardships will all have been done for God and God alone. All these 5 instructions will necessitate giving up worldly ties, permanently or temporarily. Instructions will be clearly given to each of you by post or hand delivery on February the 1st, 1943, as to how, when, and where they are to be carried out. Funds will be provided when and if necessary. Whether you have to give up your present worldly ties permanently or temporarily will be made known to you definitely on February the 1st, the day that you will receive my instructions, which will have to be put into execution on February the 28th, 1943. Baba concluded, I want every one of you to observe absolute secrecy about all I have told you now. Therefore, none of you should tell anyone not present here anything about these instructions. Group B, consisting of the following 22 men, were then called back in. 5 others of Group B who did not attend were Bhagirath Dinshaw Irani, sailor's son, Gosi Irani of Lahore, Homi Desai of Lahore, and Padmanaya, Krishna's brother. 73, Espandia Dadachanji, Chanji's brother from Karachi. 74, Arvind U. Vasavada, a friend of Nariman's from Benares. 75, Bagu, Ramju's son. 76, Bailey J. Irani, Bailey. 77, Datu Mehendaj. 78, Homi de Damania. 79, Jamadar, Watchman. 80, Jangle. 81, Limkar. 82, Meherji Sata. 83, Minu Pohawala. 84, Mulchand G. Palanjani of Sukur.
Thank you, Jan. 85, Murli Kale. 86, Nuru Ramju, brother-in-law. 87, Pankraj. 88, Raj Krishna of Dehradun. 89, Rusi Irani, Pilamai's son. 90, Vishwanath Haldankar. 91, Vishwan G. Pahlanji of Sukur. 92, Bittal Bokre. 93, Baman Subnis. 94, Yashwant Rao. These instructions for Group B were read. I'm very happy you have willingly agreed and promised to implicitly obey my instructions to help in my work of establishing spiritual freedom in the world. The instructions that I will give you are based on 4 specific foundations, each different in its aspect of execution and result, although the main effect of these different results will fundamentally be one and the same. Therefore, in short, I am classifying them in 4 separate functions and calling them 4 instructions. The 4 specific foundations forming the basis of these 4 instructions are: first, temporary fasting; second, temporary seclusion and solitude; third, special concentration and meditation; fourth, visiting different places to spread certain spiritual facts. These 4 instructions might bring in their wake 4 conditions: physical weakness, mental exhaustion; third, obstacles and difficulties; fourth, numerous inconveniences. Baba repeated that all of these will have to be undergone for God and God alone. He also said that he would personally decide which instruction each would have to carry out as of 20th February, and again stressed the necessity of keeping all absolutely secret. These were also 5 consisting of a C group who were exempt from any instructions. These men were: 95, Angal Pleader; 96, Sadashiv Borkar; 97, Keki Vajan; 98, still unknown or a question mark; 99, the ruling chief of Aligarh. Footnote: a representative from Hyderabad had also been invited but did not attend. Thank you. After each set of instructions had been translated into the 4 different languages and a copy handed out to everyone, the morning session came to an end at 11:30 a.m. Each of those invited was to read carefully through Baba's instructions and sign the sheet if they were willing to obey. Margaret was to sign for the women's group in the afternoon starting at 3 o'clock. Baba again gave instructions private interviews in his cabin. On the Monday morning, 20th December 1942, the Arangal villagers performed a dance on Mehrabad Hill from 9 to 11 a.m. In the afternoon, from 4 to 4:30 p.m., there was a bhajan and singing. This is in the evening from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. A special ghazal performance in the honor of Mehra's birthday was being held by a lady singer named Gulzar from Bombay, hired by Adi Senior and Abdur Rahman. This was the first time Meher Baba had publicly celebrated Mehra's birthday. Mehra and the other women monthly attended, but sat behind a curtain. Next page. Eva, can you read from here? Thank you.
Yes. The next day, all the men left for their respective places, and Baba began his spiritual work through them. All minds were focused on the divine beloved as they awaited their instructions from the Master. On Thursday, 7 January 1943, Baba sent Papa and Gaimai, Jasawala, and their family to Pune with the words, "You are to go now, but I will call you back again." Sawar and Nagu were sent with them for their education. Baba then re-entered seclusion at Upper Meherabad. Vishnu was ill with dysentery, so Nailu attended to Baba's personal work and carried the mail brought by Adi Sr. from Ahmednagar up the hill once or twice a day. Baba's brother Bayram had rented Bindra House in Pune for the Jasawalas. They moved there, but anticipating Baba's call soon, they did not unpack their belongings for a long time. Baba never did call them back to stay in the ashram, but by telling them that he would, he created in them a feeling of renunciation. They thus felt detached from the world and eagerly awaited his call. By keeping them at a distance, Baba kept them close to him. Except for the thought of joining him, they had no other thought or desire. Their lives were centered on waiting for the day when Baba would send for them. And in their uncertainty and hopes, Baba taught them internal stability. Baba's mother, Memo, was very pleased to have Gaimai living in Pune, as she loved her dearly and would often visit Bindra House. In fact, Baba had explained to Gaimai that one of the reasons he wished her to stay temporarily in Pune was because Memo was so lonely there. Udaman Mastan, who was elderly, fell ill with a severe case of dysentery. On the 8th, Baba decided to send him back to his village, Katgodam, with Chagan, but the must was so ill he died en route, and Chagan returned to Meherabad after burying him. Mahatma Gandhi had started a movement against the British government, actively advocating civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the authorities in their war efforts. The result was that he had been arrested in August 1942 and was incarcerated for the duration of the war in the Aga Khan Palace in Pune. Nusirwan Sata and Kaka Chinchorkar were associated with Gandhi and had likewise been arrested in November. They had been unable to attend the meeting at Meherabad, although they had been invited, because they were in jail for their anti-government protests and activities. After the meeting, Baba dictated this message to Gandhi, which Chandji delivered on 11 January 1943 to Gandhi's associates at Wardha to pass along to Gandhi. From the personal individual standpoint of a seeker of God, you did absolutely right. Stick to it to the end. Before truth, everything fades into insignificance. One's life, one's country, one's nation, one's universe, all are set aside where truth is concerned. Because the only thing worth living for and dying for is the realization of God. And after that, making others realize God. Shripat Sahai Rawat of Hamapur, called Shribhai, had heard of Baba in Nagpur from Deshmukh and Babadas. He was also an active member of the Indian National Congress Party, agitating for the country's independence. The British government was arresting all of the Congress Party leaders for stirring up revolt against their rule, and a warrant had been issued for Shribhai's arrest too. Absconding from the authorities, Sahai came to Meherabad in 1942 to see Baba. When Baba saw him, he raised an eyebrow and inquired, "You are here? You should be in jail." Shribhai was amazed, as he was coming to Baba for the first time and had not told him anything. Baba spelled out, "Take darshan without touching my feet." Baba then asked him what brought him to Meherabad. Shribhai described his long interest in spirituality, and at the end of his narration, Baba dictated, "I am happy about your honest seeking for the real. I am pleased with you. Ask me what you want. You will get it. But express your wish in one sentence." Shribhai was greatly affected by his meeting, and on the spur of the moment said, "Spiritual advancement." For a moment, Baba looked serious. Then he gestured, "Granted." Shribhai then admitted he was being pursued by the police, and Baba counseled, "You say that the conflict between a political and a spiritual life is now resolved. As you do not want to involve yourself further in politics, turn yourself in to the authorities. Send a telegram to this effect to the district magistrate of Hamapur." "Don't run away," Baba advised. "Go and surrender yourself to the police. Your going to prison is good, and I will have my eye on you." Shribhai obeyed and was imprisoned. He was the first person from Hamirpur district to come in the master's contact. And it is due to him that the whole of Hamirpur is today at Meher Baba's feet. His contact proved to be a link, and he also informed other Congress leaders in prison about Meher Baba. At the time, Keshav Narayan Nigam, 34, a lawyer of Hamirpur, was imprisoned also. Keshav, too, had heard of Baba from Babadas, who gave him some books and photographs. But Keshav was not interested, and he later threw the photographs on the road. While in jail, when Shribhai told him more about Meher Baba, Keshav became annoyed and caustically remarked, "Meher Baba is not the avatar. He lies idle without doing any work for the country and declares himself to be the avatar so that people may worship him. Mahatma Gandhi is the avatar, who was dying for the country and suffering for it, having renounced everything for that sake. Keshav continued to bitterly denounce Baba before Shri Bai. However, as events unfolded, this bitter opponent of Meher Baba turned into one of his greatest workers, devoting his entire life to the master's cause. Savak Kotwal was living in the family quarters, and his wife, Nurgiz, who was living on the hill with the women, wished to stay with him. She asked Baba, who told her, "You may live with him, but live for me. To him who suffers in my darbar court without complaint, I will give the greatest benefit." He later informed Savak, "Nurgiz is gold, but she wastes it weeping without cause." Nurgiz then moved into the family quarters. Their 3 children were studying in Hyderabad and would come to Meherabad on their holidays. Chagan was also residing in the family quarters compound with his wife and daughter, as were Jangle Master and his family. Baba's brother, Adi Jr., conducted a homeopathic dispensary in Meherabad periodically from 1936 to 1944. Once a sick person came to him, but even when he was given medicine, he did not leave. Adi told him graciously, "I have given you your medicine. Now you may go." The man demanded, "I want good medicine." "But this is good medicine," Adi replied. "It will make you well." "Give me some medicine which will cure me instantly," demanded the man. "You are Baba's brother, and only you can give such medicine." Adi tried to persuade him to leave, but he would not budge. Getting fed up, Adi said, "Brother, kindly leave. Don't bother me further." But the man continued sitting there. Soon Baba came along. Adi explained the situation to Baba, concluding, "This fellow is a real headache." Baba replied, "If he is a headache to you, it is good. You should thank him. He is teaching you forbearance. Be grateful to him. You are not obliging him by giving him medicine. On the contrary, he is obliging you by giving you the chance of serving others." Padri and Murli also took up the practice of homeopathy by Adi Jr.'s influence, and later Padri began treating the villagers of Arangan and other surrounding villages. On another occasion, there was some altercation, and Baba called Adi Jr. to the Rahuri cabin. There was some heated discussion between them as Adi was in a defiant mood. Finally, Baba spelled out, "I am telling you, I am God. Bow down at my feet." Instantly, Adi's temper cooled as he realized the truth of his elder brother's words. It was the only time Baba ever told him directly he was God. Baba was driven to Pune to visit the Jasawalas at Bindra House on 14 January. A small gathering of his close lovers was held for his darshan in the Ahilya Ashram, opposite Bindra House at 896 Nana Path. And footnote, The Ahilya Ashram was a school dedicated to the education of Dalits, underprivileged lower classes. Baba returned to Meherabad the same day. Sarosh recalled driving alone with Baba once from Meherabad to Pune for some work. On the way back in the evening, Baba spotted a half-naked, unwashed must and told Sarosh to offer the must tea. Baba was seated in the front seat of the car, and the must agreed to sit in the back seat and be driven to a tea stall across Bund Garden Bridge. When Sarosh brought the tea, he watched in horror as the must sloshed half his tea on the back seat upholstery. Baba said to ask the must if he would come with them to Meherabad, to which the must agreed. He was kept for a few days at Meherabad and then sent back to Pune. Chanji and Rao Saheb came on the 19th and spoke with Baba. On the 23rd, Baba asked Ghani to read some of Jigar's poetry to him. Preparations began for another must trip. Often pure drinking water was unavailable during these travels. On 24 January 1943, while discussing with Adi Sr. the precautions to be taken during the trip, Baba commented, "When thirst is intense and bad water is drunk, it does not affect your health. But when the thirst is not intense, if bad water is drunk, it will have a detrimental effect." The next day, Baba left Meherabad for Kuldabad via Aurangabad with Baidul, Gustaji, and Muhammad Must. Adi Sr. drove the group in his car. To make advanced preparations, Kaka and Chagan had preceded them and rented a house. Baba did not find it suitable as it was too small. So the next day they shifted into a secluded bungalow near the railway station. Adi Sr. returned to Ahmednagar that night by train with Chagan. Reaching Kuldabad, Baba began his work with Muhammad in seclusion, which lasted 7 days. During this period, Kaka brought a high must, my Bap, to Baba's bungalow for seclusion work. On the 30th, Baba contacted a must of the 6th plane called Qutub Shah, known as the captain of Aurangabad. He was Majzub-like, being completely unconscious of all his body functions. Finishing his must work on 2 February, Baba returned to Meherabad with Adi Sr. in his car, along with Kaka, Kustaji, and Mohammed. Baidul went by train. The next morning, Baba brought all the women to a private film showing at Sarosh Cinema. Baba expressed his wish to shift the ashram to Mahabaleshwar
Mahabaleshwar.
Thank you, for the summer. Kali Mama was sent to find living accommodations for the men and women.
Thank you, Eva. Pia, can you take it from here? From the beginning of the page.
Before Baba had left for Aurangabad, he sent some of the Mandali, such as Ramju, Jalbhai, Kale Mama, and Murli, with instructions to deliver his orders to the 99 individuals in different cities throughout India on 1st February, according to the plan announced at the December meeting. The men promptly delivered the seated envelopes containing the master's orders for each one. An example of Baba's instructions given to one of the men in the group A is as follows. Reference your signature to obey me implicitly in my work of spiritualizing the world. The following are my definite instructions to be carried out by you at any risk, even at the cost of life. Join me physically for an indefinite period to take active part with me in my work of spiritualizing the world from February 28, 1943 onwards. Be prepared to sever all worldly ties accordingly. On 10th February 1943, Baba departed Meherabad for Mahabaleshwar with the men and women mandali. Besides the Indian women, there were 4 Westerners living with them: Irene Billu, Kitty Devi, Margaret Krask, and Ranu Gale. In Mahabaleshwar, as he had done in Meherabad, Baba formed them into groups. But he now kept Irene with Margaret and Katie with Ranu and Kitty. Here too, Baba would not see any women except Mehera and Mani. They stayed in a bungalow called Valley View. A brown horse was bought, which Mehera used to ride in their compound. Ranu would stand at one end and another woman at the other end, and Mehera would ride back and forth between them. The men mandali with Baba in Mahabaleshwar consisted of Baidur, Gustaji, Nilu, Vishnu, Krishna, and Venkoba Rao. They stayed at a guest house called Union House. Whenever they were not with Baba for his work, Erich and Kaka were constantly on the move looking for Mas. Other members of the Meherabad Mandali also looked for Mas. Chanji was in Bombay and was called to Mahabaleshwar on the 22nd. Sidhu was also called for some time to help look after the horse. On Sunday, 14th February 1943, the day of Baba's 49th birthday, gatherings were held in 6 different cities: Bombay, Pune, Nagpur, Cholapur, Madras, and Lahore. A 7th gathering could not be arranged in Hyderabad as Baba wished. Baba sent a representative to each place to deliver his message. The task for the task for spiritual master workers. Chanji went to Bombay, Savak to Pune, Babadas to Nagpur, Pandoba and Gadekar to Cholapur, Ghani to Madras, and Adi Senior to Lahore. Baba's message was particularly aimed at the spiritual workers who had been invited to these gatherings. He urged them to awaken people to the understanding that the divine treasure is always within each one, but it is each person's duty to experience it consciously. Here is a brief excerpt. In the path, the most important condition of discipleship is readiness to work for the spiritual cause of bringing humanity closer to the realization of God. I am glad to note that though your faith and love for me, you have wholeheartedly offered yourself for sharing my universal work of spiritualizing the world. And I have full confidence that you will not only inherit for yourself the truth, but also become enthusiastic and valiant torch-bearers for humanity, which is enveloped in deep ignorance. The whole world is firmly established in the false idea of separateness. and being caught up in the illusion of duality. It is subject to all the complexities of duality. The spiritual workers have to redeem the world from the throes of imagined duality by bringing home to it the truth of the unity of all life. The minds of the people have to be completely purged of all forms of selfishness and narrowness if they are to inherit the life in eternity which I bring. It is by no means an easy task to persuade people to give up their selfishness and narrowness. Baba then offered some hints how to go about the work and concluded by stating, through the untiring activities of spiritual workers, humanity shall be initiated into the new life, abiding peace and dynamic harmony, unconquerable faith and unfading bliss, immortal sweetness and incorruptible purity, creative love and infinite understanding. During February 1943, the British government announced that due to the war, corn, wheat, and other grains were to be rationed throughout India. Hearing this news, Memo observed to her neighbor, "What is this world coming to? Ration grain? It is better I die before rationing begins." A few days later, Memo sent for the tailor, and giving him cloth to make some blouses, she made this odd remark, "I don't know if I'll be alive to wear these clothes." The fact was that Memo had had a dream in which she saw a red horse enter her house, and had taken this as a sign that her end was imminent.
Thank you, Pia. Now, Mimi, Mira, would you read? Then unmute yourself. Yeah, you can start from the beginning of the page. Thank you. Okay. Uh, we'll have somebody else having some technical issues. Ralph, would you like to read? Can you read?
No phone, I'm driving.
All right.
Yeah,
One. Okay,
thank you
okay.
for asking.
Continue driving. Uh, okay. Back to Jan. Can you read from here? From the
On
beginning of the.
Sunday, 21st of February 1943, Mimo fell and suffered a brain hemorrhage. She was rushed to the hospital, but the doctors said they could not save her and that she would not survive. Baba was in Mahabaleshwar and was informed immediately. 2 days later, on the 23rd, Baba arrived at the Mandalis' quarters at 8 o'clock in the morning and instructed Chanji to leave for Pune to help his brothers, Jaibai, Bayram, and Adi Jr. deal with the crisis. Baba also warned, "My mother might pass on, so inform all concerned in Bombay, Ahmednagar, and elsewhere to be ready at any moment for the news." Chanji left on the afternoon bus and arrived in Pune at 7 in the morning. Baba's 3 brothers were at the hospital watching over their mother. Mimo was brought home on Thursday, 25th of February, but she was still unconscious. Yet she had a pleasant smile on her face, as if she were watching something magnificent. That night at 9:40 p.m., Nemo passed away at the age of 65, merging forever in the ocean of bliss. Chanji recorded, "The end was remarkably calm and sudden. Just a quarter of an hour ago, we had seen her breathing hard as usual. While Adi Jr., Bayram, and myself were lightly chit-chatting in Bayram's house, there was a sudden call that Shireen Mai was collapsing. We rushed to her bed to find the end was coming. But so smooth was the final stage, about 15 minutes, that none could definitely say when it truly ended." Baba received a telegram that night and came directly to Pune from Mahabaleshwar. It was late when he arrived, but he did not enter Baba House to see Mimo's last remains, but instead stood outside at a distance in the lane. Shortly thereafter, he went to Bindra House with Erij, who had accompanied him. At Bindra House, Baba remarked to Gaimai, "It is good Mimo died before I came. Had she not died, I would have not allowed her to die, and she would have suffered greatly. She would have slowly recovered, but she would have been paralyzed for life." Gaimai related to Baba that when Mimo had breathed her last, she, Gaimai, had seen many tiny, shimmering, golden hands emerge from Shireen Mai's nostrils and hover over her before floating away. Baba's final remark was, "She is now freed. Shireen Mai, age will always remember you. How blessed you were to have given birth to the Avatar." Age declared, "Words cannot sufficiently praise your fortune. You are the mother of the age. Your name will be sung for ages to come. O Mimu, our supreme farewell to you." Baba and Erij left for Mahabaleshwar immediately. Shireen Mai's funeral was held the following evening and her body taken to the Tower of Silence. A large contingent of devotees arrived from Bombay and Ahmednagar to pay their last respects. Some reported seeing Meher Baba bow thrice to his mother's body. The following day, 27th February 1943, Baba returned to Pune, where he stayed at Bindra House. This time he did go to Baba House and saw Jalbai, Adi Jr., Bayram and his wife Perrin, Bayram and Perrin's children, Sheru, aged 8, and Gulna, 7, loved Baba. For a while, Baba played with the two children. He then explained to all, "Mimu has come to me and is now fully in bliss. She helped me so much in my work, and after playing her part, she has come to me. She was an exceedingly adventurous woman and extremely fearless." When Bobo died, she was all alone here in Pune, as you three, Jalbai, Bayram, and Adi Jr., were with me in the West. Because of her courage, I was able to take the three of you with me. Now, Mimo is quite happy and free of all worldly ties. Baba then divided the family's property among his three brothers according to his mother's will and returned to Bindra House for the night. In the afternoon, during a meeting with the Mandali, Masaji and Papa got into an argument. Then Kaka and Chanji began fighting about the activities of Manik Mehta and his Jap Mandal. As Chanji recorded, "It seemed as if Baba had come and stayed here expressly for this purpose and created this storm, fighting. As he said, in the end it is his Leela, divine game. His role during all this heated debate was of quiet, silent observer. He even seemed to enjoy it, although others raged red hot. But the game was played as he wanted and finished up. How wonderfully it exposed and disclosed the weaknesses of all concerned. how acutely it strained the nerves and tested the strength of endurance till it all blew off, up. What a game, what a Leela, and what an experience. Baba spent the night at Bindra House and left Pune for Ahmednagar on Sunday, 28th of February, with Gulmai, Khorshid, Damania, and Adi Senior in Sarosh's Chevrolet.
Thank you, Jan. And that's all for today. We shall end the recording here and continue with a small chat.